Hello, bienvenue, welcome back. I recently rewatched Criminal Minds from start to finish. I mean, all 15 seasons. It's one of those shows that started back when I was a kid and only recently finished, like Supernatural, which actually crazy, they both started at the same time and ended at the same time. And from what I've heard, they might actually have a possibility of coming back in some form or another. But unlike Supernatural, where I only really like the first 2 seasons and then it gets progressively worse from there, Criminal Minds has a pretty decent run. In my experience, most shows don't really hit their stride until about season 2. And Criminal Minds is definitely much the same with episodes like Revelations or Profiler Profiled. You want to know an absolutely terrifying fact? It only took me 3 weeks to watch the series from beginning to end. Granted, this was, of course, during my time off for the winter holidays, and I did spend about a week pretending to do work but not actually doing anything. And I was busy. I was so stressed out trying to deal with lawyers and banks and agents. So, following these lovable misfits while they try to solve horrific murders was surprisingly relaxing. Because you know what? Somebody always has it worse than you. Even if the last half of season 12 gave me a panic attack, and actually not even just one, but multiple. But that's a story for a completely different time if I ever do a Spencer Reid focused video. Which, let's face it, I probably will, because Dr. Spencer Reid is the first character that I related to on a level that actually terrified me. So if you're interested in that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. So what's my favorite season? Some of the mid-seasons are super fun, and a lot of people tout season 2 as being the best season, but also season 4 or season 7. And it's kind of arguable which one is really the peak of the series. But my favorite season is not one that you would expect. My favorite is season 15. It's the final season, the one that only had 10 episodes. I'm not even saying that it was the best season, because it definitely was not. It's just the season that I enjoyed the most. People forget that you had to have suspended belief long ago to enjoy the show. So all of these ridiculous moments really shouldn't come all that far out of left field. It's the entire reason that we watched the show in the first place. Is Criminal Minds the best show ever written? Oh, hell no. But do we love it anyway? Yeah, and we've come to accept its flaws. So given the fact that they actually started to delve deeper into the characters for a following into their lives and intertwining them more with the cases and the action that was happening on the show, was really what I loved about the final season. So what if villains suddenly know how to fly a plane, or that labor takes moments instead of the hours of grueling, intense pain that it actually does? You have to suspend all belief to enjoy fiction because, let's face it, real life just isn't as fantastical and fun as a scripted drama. I love this season because in terms of cast, it is the most diverse. It has 4 women and 4 men. But the leader of the BAU is a woman. Not to mention that we have 3 people of color, 2 of which are rarely underrepresented in television. Go look at some of the studies that Rafael Silva has been posting, because they're absolutely fascinating and kind of sad and heartbreaking. But let me say that I have been super disappointed when it comes to the queer representation in the show. We have 15 years and almost all, if not all, representation has been a killer or a victim. Spencer Reid was supposed to be bisexual, and I really wish that they hadn't backed down on that when they found a super cute hetero ship to sail. Because it really would have added something to the show that it was desperately missing. Remember when I talked about 911 Lone Star? And the reason that I don't really watch procedural crime and rescue shows is because they have a distinct lack of character that I really need. So, most procedural crime shows, they involve the case or the mission. It's not about the characters. And that's the meat that I really want to sink into, because I really want to become intimately acquainted with these characters in their lives. Their goals, their wants, their loves, their fears. The only reason I could watch Criminal Minds is because we got a little bit of that, but definitely not to the extent that I wanted. It was all very superficial. We never really got involved in their lives beyond major disasters. There were some seasons that were a little more involved than others, but those were definitely the outliers. It's like the show took one aspect of the characters and focused on that, rather than develop the characters further and create individuals. Yeah, I know every character had a personality and a history, but we didn't really get to see into the depths of their lives at all. So what do we have? We have Hotch, who can't keep a relationship together, and Prentice, who is a loner, and then JJ becomes defined by her status as a mother. And then, of course, we have Reed and his mother and mental illness. You get the picture, right? I do appreciate their willingness to tackle mental illness. It's something that we don't see very often, though I don't think they did it in a particularly healthy way. For me, as someone who lives with mental illness every single day, Criminal Minds felt like it treated mental illness as something to be feared. Like, I'm something to be feared. Still, I loved season 15 because we really started to dig down into the characters and see them outside of work. Simmons is writing a book. Prentice is actually working on a stable relationship. And Reed is learning to actually do things for himself. We actually get to see them tackling problems in their day-to-day life. And I wish that we got to see a whole lot more of that throughout the series. I mean, we actually got an episode of them just dealing with personal problems for the day. So I can honestly say that I'm still not all that into procedurals. For me, characters and relationships, they need to be far more compelling. It's not saying that they weren't, but I just wish that we got a bit more balance. But honestly, when you think about it, I did sit down and watch 15 seasons. So that's gotta say something.
End of this time, it's the end of our time.